The First Descendant is here in all its skin-tight glory. I've been grinding all week, and today I've got 13 tips and tricks for all the new players out there to understand the game a little bit better. Why don't we start off with an easy one, reload canceling. When you reload your weapon, you'll see a little meter on the screen that indicates how long it's going to take to fully reload. That meter is actually kind of deceptive though, because you don't have to wait for the meter to fully finish in order to begin firing again. Some players have mentioned rolling to fire early, but you don't need to do that at all. After hitting reload, just hold down the fire button, and when you're around 60-ish% finished with your reload animation, you'll cancel it and be able to refire your weapon again. Another easy one, the ground pound. You've got a melee attack you can use in the game, both a charged and uncharged version, but there's also a ground pound. As long as you have a full melee charge, if you double jump and then hold down the melee button, you cancel all forward momentum and dive straight down to the ground with an attack. Alright, how about some fundamental stuff? Understand gear rarity and strength. Gear rarity in First Descendant is kind of weird. If we're talking about weapon rarity, there's 3 levels to care about: standard, rare, and ultimate. Weapons in the rare category or better come with additional randomized benefits that can help your weapons be a bit more effective, or potentially synergize better with your Descendant's abilities. Ultimate weapons are distinct and unique, and come with a unique ability. If you're a Destiny 2 player, think exotic weapons. They have a predetermined power fantasy in mind, and their unique ability is essentially an exotic perk. These unique abilities can actually be enhanced, but you need duplicates of that ultimate weapon to infuse into one another in order to do that. If you're interested, check the link below in the pinned comment to an article I dug up that has info on literally every ultimate weapon in the game if you want to learn about all of them. If you're a brand new player, quick tip: adjust your weapon inventory not necessarily by newest, but rather by DPS, aka damage per second. That'll give you an immediate idea of what your overall strongest weapon options are, because early on you're going to get a lot of gear and very quickly. Next up, understanding modules. But real quick guys, what if I told you you can win a free gaming console or smartphone? And if that's not enough, what if I told you there'll be Amazon gift cards with a total value up to $5,000? What do you gotta do to win? Easy. Raid Shadow Legends, sponsor of today's video, are celebrating the arrival of summer with a special Summer Tavern minigame. Download Raid using my link in the description, head to summertavern.plarium.com, enter your Raid ID, and join the competition. That's it. You can also get 2 months of YouTube Premium subscription by simply downloading Raid before July 17th and playing for at least 5 days and hitting level 20 within 30 days. If you've never played Raid before, there's really no better time to get into it than right now. A free-to-play game with over 250 million downloads, over 800 champions, 16 factions, and constant monthly updates, Raid has something for everybody. Why burn outside under the hot sun when the Raid champion lineup is hot enough already? If you use my link in the description or scan my QR code, you can immediately get a huge starter pack with epic champion Tayrel from the High Elves faction. And you'll get another starter pack after reaching level 25 that includes an epic Rector Draft. Don't forget that all these champions are available after downloading via my custom link or QR code only. So just hit up my link in the description or pinned comment below and look for me under the name Falluwoot and be sure to join my clan. Again, don't forget to go to summertavern.com, enter your Raid ID, and participate in the Summer Tavern minigame for a chance to earn awesome real-life prizes, and a big thank you again to Raid Shadow Legends. Alright, we back. Next up, learn how modules work early. Some players I've talked to have a really hard time figuring out the module system, which I get. It can look kind of intimidating at first, but here is the short version. Modules are individual buffs that you can use either to directly improve your weapon or your Descendant themselves. Click the module icon next to any of your equipped weapons to get started. First, look at the number in the top right-hand corner that says module capacity. That number kind of dictates how many modules you can equip at one time. You see these numbers at the top of each individual module? That number is the overall cost of equipping that module. For example, the Bullet Rain module I have here will bump up my weapon's rate of fire and firearm attack, and the capacity cost is 5. I apply that module to my submachine gun, and boom, I'm now at 5 out of 40. I can keep adding modules if I want, keeping the cost in mind until I've reached my cap of 40. If you're just starting out, keep it easy and go for the Equip Recommended Modules option over on the far right. The game will slap on recommended buffs depending on the type of weapon you got on. Later on, when you're trying to make a build and you're a bit more confident, feel free to play around more liberally with weapon modules. The other type of modules are Descendant modules, which kinda do the same thing, but they apply buffs directly to your character. Here's an extra tip to keep in mind. You'll notice that some of the empty module slots have symbols symbols that potentially match with symbols found at the top of each module. By matching symbols, you'll reduce the overall capacity cost of that module by 50%, which is huge. Match those symbols and save space. On that note, enhance modules. By going to Cillian, aka the Mod Master on the far left-hand side of Albion, you can enhance modules, which I recommend new players fiddle with just to get a feel for how it works. For the cost of gold, and I'm not even going to pretend like I know how to say that word correctly, Kuiper shards? I'm going to call them K shards. You can beef up the power of any given module. Be careful though, because bumping up the strength of the mod will also increase the capacity cost, meaning that equipping that module will now be more expensive. Still though, definitely worthwhile if there's a particular module you really enjoy using or think might fit your build very well. 2 more tips focused on modules. Bring the right modules to the right fight. Void intercept battles can be really challenging, and the bosses can deal very particular kinds of damage. Always have a battle plan going in and try to adjust your modules accordingly. For example, the Dead Bride boss deals chill damage, and the game even tells you that it hard recommends having a form of chill resist. I didn't even notice that the first time and got my cheeks completely clapped. Be sure to go through your module list and change the odds in your favor. In this case, chill resist. Always make sure you know what the Void boss will be hitting you with and try to stack your odds against it before the fight even begins. Final tip focused on modules, be sure to up your module capacity. You can raise your overall module capacity by improving your mastery rank, which will happen naturally by just grinding the game. Remember to actually level up your mastery rank when the time comes at the Prime Hands area in Albion. Also, be sure to hit the module additional settings button in the module menu and hit max capacity up. Doing that will require you to get a handful of research materials, but provided you have them all, you can really raise the ceiling on your module capacity, which is great. Do not forget to do that as you progress through the game. Okay, I lied. One more module tip. Dismantle duplicate modules. You may not have noticed at first glance, but you might be carrying duplicate modules. Talking to the module master at Albion, you can dismantle extras if you're in a real pinch and need emergency K shards right away. Alright, next up, learn how to infuse gear. Let's say you have a weapon you really want to use, but the weapon level is way down compared to the rest of your gear. You can actually bump up the weapon level at the Workbench repair station, provided you have both a phase exchanger item. For example, I go to the Workbench and select weapon level transmission. I take my Thunder Cage submachine gun, which as you can see is way under leveled compared to all my other gear. I then select a different weapon with a higher level that I'm okay with sacrificing, and for the cost of 1 phase exchanger, bam, we've infused the weapon with the higher level into my Thunder Cage, and now my Thunder Cage is at the higher level. Extra tip though, I recorded that clip to show you how to do it if you're new or didn't know, but if you're brand new and not at the end game yet, you really shouldn't be infusing gear like that very early on. Wait until the middle or especially the late game. Reason being, the game drowns you in so much repeated gear. Even if you took a weapon you enjoyed and infused it up, you're likely to get a better weapon or better version of that same weapon really soon. For now, know that it's a thing you can do and plan to do it later on when you start getting stronger and rarer, that's a word, right? Weapons to drop. And on that note, master the damn Workbench in general. Weapon level transmission is basically the intro to weapon workshopping, but the other features at the Workbench will become more important over time as well. Weapon readjustment allows you to take a weapon and potentially re-roll some of the perks on that weapon. Let's say you like some of the perks but wish one other perk was a little bit different. Lock the perks you like and re-roll what you don't. That'll cost you one or several adjustment control access items. Enhance unique ability will allow you to beef up the power of abilities on your very rare gear, like ultimate weapons for example. Again, in order to do this, you need another weapon with the same unique ability. So if I wanted to beef up the Thunder Cage's overcharge ability, I would need to go craft a second Thunder Cage and infuse the two together. Reactor enhancement will allow you to strengthen the buff from your reactor at the cost of ion accelerators. And because doing all that is resource heavy and you'll do it in the end game, you should craft early and craft often. As mentioned, the Workbench is incredibly important in the late game to make sure your gear is competitive. But if you're a new player, why not prepare for the late game in advance? You can do that by visiting Anayas? probably butchering her name, but the light-haired goddess at the far left-hand side of Albion. She is your source for researching and creating valuable materials, ultimate weapons, and even unlocking new descendants. Phase exchangers, adjustment control axis, ion accelerators, all the stuff I just mentioned you need at the workbench can be crafted here with her, provided you have the right materials. When researching, aka making these items, you not only need to spend materials, but you have to wait a certain amount of time before they're ready to be picked up. That would be in real world time, by the way. So if you wanted to, you could do everything before going to bed for the night, and then the next day you could just be right there and pick everything back up. It should be ready for you to collect. In short, to be better prepared for the end game, try to craft some materials early on, and because of that, never sell, always dismantle. The game does have a vendor who you can sell gear to for gold, but god damn, what a waste. I only learned that guy existed recently, and just by running missions and playing the game normally, you'll rack up literally millions of gold. All the tons of items the game gives you, extra weapons, reactors, components, etc., just dismantle them, especially early on, because you'll get so much loot that you'll likely be using a completely new set of weapons every 5 minutes. By dismantling weapons, you can get super alloy and liquid metal. By dismantling reactors, you can also get solenoid and superconductor cores. By dismantling external components, you can get void organisms. The bottom line is that dismantling gear, especially early on, is almost always the better play, so you can get valuable crafting materials that you can use later. And finally, don't forget to check access info. With all of these materials, items, and whatnot in the game, it can be really difficult to keep track of everything under the sun. Go ahead and open your journal and tab over to access info, and it'll straight up tell you how and where to get basically any item in the entire game. Incredibly handy if you're trying to get any specific weapon, module, character, and so on and so forth. If you have any additional tips you want to share, feel free to drop them down in the comment section. Thank you very much for watching. Peace!